Happy Sunday, everybody. Last Sunday, April 2nd, was International Children's Book Day, and I'm going to take each Sunday this month and share one of my favorite children's books with you. This week, we are going to read one that my parents actually had created for me back in the 80s. Little publishing company that you would send them some information and they would create a book with your child in it. So here is to fun memories growing up. Hope you like it. The Great Easter Egg Hunt. An Easter adventure written for and starring Amanda Grace Lucas. With love from Mommy and Daddy. Once upon a year, very much like this one, the springtime came a little earlier and a little more beautifully than it had in a long while. The daffodils sparkled like gold in the sunlight, and the crocuses came up in a whole rainbow of dazzling colors. Even the robin's breast looked like a big, bright flower. And of course, Easter morning that year was extra special. At least Amanda Grace thought so as she walked along near where she lived in Clarkston, Georgia. But suddenly she saw an adorable rabbit sitting beside the road, looking as though he might cry. "Whatever can be the matter on such a beautiful morning?" asked Amanda Grace. "And who are you?" "I'm Broderick, a number 1 super first-class appointed helper for Easter Bunny," the rabbit managed to answer, even though his lower lip was quivering. "At least," as his lip quivered once more, "I used to be. I've made a terrible mistake, and Easter Bunny, as kind-hearted as he is, may not let me be his helper anymore." "Well," said Amanda Grace, "I'd like to be your friend. My name is Amanda Grace, and I'm 3 years old. I have a pet named Lady, and I want to help you. Tell me what happened. I'm sure you didn't mean to do anything wrong." "Well," said Broderick, drawing himself up bravely, "I was supposed to hide all of the Easter eggs for the great Easter egg hunt this afternoon." He dabbed at the corner of his eye with a lilac leaf. "I did all that," he said, as a tear slid down his cheek anyhow. "But my cousin Richard said that I also hid the glorious golden egg by mistake. It was supposed to be the prize for finding the most eggs, and I don't even remember seeing it, much less hiding it somewhere." "There, there," said Amanda Grace as she patted Broderick gently on the back. "I'm going to help you find the glorious golden egg, but first you must remember all the places where the eggs are hidden." Broderick began to feel much better and dried his eyes on a fresh lilac leaf. Amanda Grace was deciding just how to begin. "Let's see," she said. "I know a special person named Ryan Turner who will help us. Do you know anyone who will help?" "Oh, sure," said Broderick. "I'll just ask my brothers and sisters and all my cousins to help us." With that, he gave a long, loud whistle, and out of the bushes hopped hundreds of adorable little rabbits who looked exactly like Broderick. Amanda Grace laughed and clapped her hands in delight. "We're sure to find the glorious golden egg with all this help," she cried. So while Broderick sat down to make a list of all the places where he'd hidden eggs, Amanda Grace got everyone together and told them how they could help look for the glorious golden egg. When everyone was ready to go, Broderick said that the first place on his list was the magic flower garden. So they all went there to search. The magic flowers nodded and hummed and moved their leaves aside so that the children and Broderick's brothers and sisters and cousins could look for the eggs. They found where 738 eggs were hidden, but no glorious golden egg. "Well, I hid a lot of eggs in the magic forest too," Broderick told Amanda Grace. "The glorious golden egg is sure to be there." So they all hurried away to the magic forest. It was cool and misty and a little scary in the magic forest, but the magic trees were very friendly. They rolled their eyes and waved their limbs and helped point out where the eggs were hidden. The children and all their helpers searched under ferns and in the tall grass beneath the trees. Soon they found 600 more hiding places, but still no sign of the glorious golden egg. "Where else can we look, Broderick?" everyone asked. This time Broderick said that more eggs were hidden all around the enchanted lake. That was close to the Easter Bunny burrow where Easter Bunny lived. So Broderick's brothers and sisters and cousin with Broderick and the children in the lead, set off once more, looking just like a big parade. As they made their way along, who should come hopping lickety-split down the road but one of Broderick's 932 little cousins, Horace Hopper. "Broderick, Broderick!" Horace shouted as he tried to stop but couldn't. He ran in a short half circle, came running back to Broderick, and shouted right in his face, "Guess what?" "What?" said Broderick, trying not to be swept over backwards. The words tumbled out of Horace's mouth. "It's a golden egg," he cried. "Mrs. Heron has a golden egg in her nest, and she's sitting on it. She says she's sure it will hatch into someone special." Everyone thought that Broderick might just faint, but instead he gave a big whoop and started running as fast as he could toward the enchanted lake. In fact, Broderick ran so fast that Amanda Grace, Ryan Turner, and all of the rest had to run their fastest to stay inside of him. You can imagine how Mrs. Heron felt when she saw the huge commotion and realized it was all headed right for her nest. She bravely stayed right on her egg and only covered her head with her wings as Broderick raced up and shouted, "You don't understand, Mrs. Heron." "Shh!" Mrs. Heron scolded. "You'll disturb my eggs." She patted the side of her nest and smiled. "And there's one very special egg in here that's going to hatch into someone most extraordinary." "But that's what I'm talking about," Broderick whispered loudly as the others came running all out of breath. "That golden egg is the prize for today's Easter egg hunt," he went on. "It can't possibly hatch into anybody." Just then, Mrs. Heron got a surprised look on her face. She stood up and looked into the nest under her, and just peeking out of the golden eggshell was a baby heron with great big eyes. Amanda Grace took the baby up in her arms. Mrs. Heron smiled with motherly love and said, "There, I told you someone special was in that egg." Poor Broderick looked confused and bewildered. "I was sure that was the egg I lost," he said, shaking his head slowly back and forth. Suddenly, everyone said, "Ooh," and then they said, "Ah," for out of the crowd stepped the Easter Bunny himself. What's more, he was holding the glorious golden egg. Easter Bunny stepped over and put his paw on Broderick's shoulder. "Dear Broderick," he said, "you must have been so upset. What happened was that your little cousin Richard wanted to play a prank on you. So he painted one of Mrs. Heron's eggs to look like the glorious golden egg. Then he hid it near the enchanted lake and told you that you had hidden it by mistake. He apologizes and feels very sorry now that he caused you so much trouble." Broderick turned to Mrs. Heron. "Lucky for us that you found that egg and put it back in your nest. Your baby might not have hatched at all." "I knew right away that it was my own egg," Mrs. Heron said. "It wouldn't matter what color it was. I'd know my own egg anywhere." "Of course," said Easter Bunny. "See, Broderick, I have the glorious golden egg right here." And he held up the most beautiful Easter egg that Amanda Grace had ever seen. It was decorated all over with lacy gold and silver ribbons. Around the middle there were tiny gold flowers arranged in little bouquets. How everyone admired it as it shimmered and sparkled in the sunlight. Broderick was so overwhelmed that he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I was afraid that you wouldn't let me be your helper anymore," he told Easter Bunny. "Why, Broderick," said Easter Bunny, "I couldn't do without your help. How else would I ever deliver all the Easter baskets and hide all of the eggs every year?" With that, everyone cheered loudly. Amanda Grace gave Broderick a great big hug, and then she shook Easter Bunny's paw. It was a wonderful moment. "You're such a special friend," Broderick said to Amanda Grace. "I think you should have the glorious golden egg." "Certainly not until I find the most eggs," said Amanda Grace. "But now I know where to look. So come on, let's go." The end.